Thanks for calling Treats API support. How can I help you today?
Can I get me treats?
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
I looked at the documentation and treats should be coming out of this wee dispenser. It's making me real sad. Shit. See, your docs say I just call this treats method and ding, treats. But I'm getting this here 402. Payment required. What is this? I'm already paying your monthly fee.
Sir, I double-checked the docs and you are correct. You should be getting treats. Let me check with our docs team and I'll get back to you.
Please do. I don't know how long I can live without me treats. Hey there, Jojo.
Hi, James. I'm afraid I have some bad news.
Oh no, what's that?
A customer just called in complaining that he could not get treats using the API per documentation.
Impossible.
I thought so too, but I was able to replicate the behavior the customer encountered after referencing the docs. See here, calling get treats should yield treats, right?
Okay, hold on. Let me verify this on my end. It doesn't work. Now, why does it say payment required? Maybe there's a ticket that explains this. Alright, here's the ticket. Update documentation to reflect the restriction of the get treats method behind the premium tier. Get treat is now the only method available with the basic plan. Well, this one's on me. Can't blame the devs for not letting me know this time. Better fix the docs. Jojo, I'm just going to place you on a brief hold. Okay, so our first issue is that the treats endpoint is locked behind the premium tier. So we need some way to indicate that here in the documentation. Our second issue is that we're missing documentation for the basic tier. So let's fix that. I'm just going to copy everything we have here and make it singular. It's not premium, and it's the treat endpoint. So now our documentation should be correct. Hey Jojo, I found the issue and updated the docs. Jojo?
Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
No worries. Just wanted to let you know that the error in the docs has been corrected.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, hey there, my fellow documentarian. You know, it wasn't always this way. There was a time when it was easier to track and document changes, but something happened. The company grew, product and engineering forgot to let us know about changes, or I missed something like we saw today, and we lost control of the customer experience. There are legends of an era where docs teams tested products using the docs, where they caught mismatches between the docs and the product before release, but nothing remains of that era. Well, except for this tablet. Funny thing, this, it's like a phone, but way bigger. See if there's anything on it. The heck? Are you seeing this? This Dox's Tests by Manny Silva. The apropos. What do we got here? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to call you back. Hey, we're not doing a montage. You know how much time I've spent on this video already? No. Sorry, that got a bit out of hand. The good news is I learned a ton from reading about Dox's tests. Now before I go any further, I wanted to mention the 2 blog posts I created for Dox's tests. I know that was pretty fast, wasn't it? In the first one, I explain the use case for Dox's tests and provide a high-level demo of what example tests look like. In the second post, I go into much more detail around how you can get started implementing Dox's tests yourself. Links for both blog posts will be in the description, but you can also get to them by navigating to jamestassi.tech/blog. Now, as much as I love the written word, I suspect that some of you prefer to learn from videos. With that in mind, I'm going to show you an example of what Dox's tests, or you might call it documentation-based testing, looks like. Then I'm going to show you how to get set up to run your own tests. Let's begin by recapping what happened earlier with Treats API. Customer Louis called tech support because he was unable to get his treats after following the Treats API docs. Jojo in support reached out to the docs team, that's me, and I confirmed that the docs were not updated after our premium tier was introduced to the API. I then updated the documentation and let support know that the problem was resolved. Wouldn't it be great if this sort of thing never happened again? Let's take a look at our docs again. To illustrate the point, I've reset them to the incorrect state they were in at the start of the video. Specifically, they show the get treats endpoint, which we know wasn't working for Louis. So we reactively fixed the docs earlier, but what if we wanted a way to auto-detect issues like this one before customers ever see them? Let me introduce you to Doc Detective, a tool created by the Dox's Tests author, Manny Silva. I know, I swear Manny isn't paying me. There are other great tools out there as well. Just take a look at my blog post if you want to learn more. But Doc Detective is really good at testing scenarios like this one. See, with Doc Detective installed, all I need to do is run a command to have it auto-detect testable assertions in my docs and then run the tests, like so. Okay. You'll see a lot of activity in the terminal, culminating with a summary that shows what happened. But let's go ahead and open the test result here. Give that a little room. And we see we got returned 402, expected 1, 200 or 201, which basically means we got a bad result. We expected an okay result. So let's go ahead and fix that. Just going to paste in what we arrived at earlier. So here we added the flag premium true to show that this method requires premium subscription. And we also added in the missing documentation for the singular treat method. So let's go ahead and run our test again. So let's check our results. Start by looking at the 402 results, and it looks like it's still there. Now that's actually expected, because if you think about the real world scenario, what would happen is either the customer would pay a fee to get access to that premium tier, at which time they would get something like a token that would allow them to access those endpoints, or they wouldn't, and they would continue to get this 402 payment required response. Now let's take a look at the other test. So this one passed because the treat method, which is now documented, was already available. It just wasn't in the docs. And so customers are able to get their, well, singular treats one at a time. Not great that the documentation wasn't there, but at least it is now so that customers know how they can at least get one treat at a time. Alright, so we took a test that was failing and made it pass by updating our docs. Now just try to imagine that you ran the test and caught the issue before the documentation was released. Pretty cool, huh? But what if you want to implement docs' test yourself? In the next section, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what setting up and running docs' tests looks like. However, remember that you can find a much more detailed version of these steps at this blog post. The link will be in the description, but you can also just go to jamestassi.tech/blog. Note that the tools I will list should be available in Windows, Mac, and Linux environments, but let me know in the comments if you run into any problems with this. First, you'll need to download and install the following prerequisites: Git for source control, an IDE or integrated development environment. I use VS Code, but you should be fine with other popular options like Cursor or Windsurf, and Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime environment. Next, you'll need to clone my docs' test demo repository. So now we need to open the docs' test demo repo that we just cloned. So I'll go ahead and find the folder, and we'll select it. You want to navigate to a terminal so it doesn't automatically load, and verify that you are in the root of the repo. If not, you'll want to navigate there. And then we are going to run the npm install command to make sure all of our dependencies are installed in the project. Now this could take a couple minutes. It didn't for me because I have everything installed, but for you it might take a little longer. When the install is complete, we need to start our product server. So I'm going to go open a separate terminal here, and we're going to type node server, hit enter, and you know it worked if you get this message here. Then we're going to go back to our other terminal, or you can open a new one, and we're going to run the command to actually run our tests. There we go. Now, when the tests finish, go ahead and open the results file. And you're going to see a bunch of JSON, but we want to look for specific results that we care about. So in the first case, we had a pass. The 200 returned the expected response for the getTreat method. And that makes sense because we never actually had a problem with that endpoint. It just wasn't documented before. So that matches the result we saw before. What about that 402 that we were getting? In that case, we got a fail, again, matching our results from earlier, indicating that a payment is required in order to access that endpoint, again, we'd have like a token if we paid the premium monthly fee that would presumably get us access to that. So, good job running your first tests. If you've made it this far, you might be wondering, why is this guy so obsessed with Dox's tests? It's a fair question, one that you didn't ask, but I'll answer it anyway. As with many documentarians, I recently found myself out of work. I had gone to the Write the Docs Portland conference in 2024, so I decided to go again in 2025. Around the same time of this year's conference, Manny Silva published the Docs Test book. I had met Manny briefly the previous year and played with his Doc Detective tool a bit, but until reading the book, I wasn't sure how I might apply Docs tests. Up until reading the book. Quick tangent. For those of you that have seen the incredible TV show Andor, and especially its second season, you know that so much stuff is packed into the story of the rebellion that they can't possibly show everything. A character will reference something that happened off screen and it'll be like, they did what with whom? I kind of felt that way reading Docs tests. I don't mean that as a criticism. It's more like there could be separate books or at least blog posts about things like the way code snippets should be handled or how to apply code coverage to handcrafted tests for different document types, or when should the failure of a documentation-based test block the release of software. But underneath all of the wisdom provided in the book, and despite its being nonfiction, I sensed, or I intuited, a narrative that was enabled by all of this tooling and guidance. I felt an opportunity for documentarians to take back something which has been seemingly diminishing in some form or another, and that is power. The power to remind your Scrum team that you are here, ready to lead the way to a better customer experience. The power to weaponize your docs in the fight against misalignment with the product. The power for a technical writer to say, hey, dev team, you broke our docs, rather than waiting for that call from support indicating the docs are wrong again. That is the will of Docs as tests. Documentarians, linked together in their cause and need, shall fight. We shall fight in the API docs. We shall fight in the user and reference guides. We shall fight in the CLI docs and in code snippets. Really? Churchill? You know, not everything needs to be so adversarial. But I get it. Most likely not everyone in your organization has the same level of support for documentation. Thanks, Agile Manifesto! Also, what's with the watercolor background? So you might have to start small with the support that you have. To paraphrase the Docs Test book, build a cupcake, think testing proof of concept, before you try to scale up to a birthday cake or even a wedding cake. Then, once you've demonstrated how Docs Test can solve a single Docs problem, your project will hopefully start attracting some friends, or at least the license to expand it. And friends are important because documentation is a team sport. According to Write the Docs, a documentarian is someone who cares about documentation and communication in the software industry, regardless of job title. So as you can see, this doesn't have to be a zero-sum power grab. And it shouldn't be, because when an organization tightens up its documentation using Docs as tests, everyone wins. Also, let's remember that we all have stakeholders. For example, the developer that has had to pivot her code to more scope changes than she can count. The product owner who is managing scope while executives breathe down his neck. The ops guru, just trying to keep everyone's pipelines from burning to the ground. So maybe the real rebellion isn't so much documentarians taking back power from developers, product, ops, etc. No, maybe it's an alliance. An alliance that can improve the customer experience whether the docs are read by large language models or humans. But even as our alliance produces and documents software, remember that there is always, and perhaps always will be, tech that can threaten our livelihoods if we fail to harness it. And probably for some of us, even if we do. So let's keep our eye on the ball. Technical writers, help that developer who struggles with documentation. And take a stab at writing a test. Developers, give that technical writer a hand by making sure his code snippet is correct, and consider helping him write his first test. Ops folks, help your docs team set up a docs test pipeline, or 5. Senior technical writers, try to learn some Jenkins or other pipeline settings so you can lighten the load on your ops team. Product, find a way to ensure that each new feature or bug fix, depending on your flow, generates a release note ticket for your docs team. I could go on, but it pretty much boils down to following the Agile Prime Directive. We understand and truly believe that everyone did the best job they could, given what they knew at the time, their skills and abilities, the resources available, and the situation at hand. Now, I fully acknowledge that giving everyone the benefit of the doubt feels impossible at times, but we have to try, because rebellions are built on hope. This is James Tassi signing off. I'm a technical writer, and I have friends everywhere. Aye, funny treats courtesy of the premium subscription.